We appreciate the point. Don, thank you very much there in Caldwell, New Jersey. Let's go to right now over to Peter Schiff and talk to him about what's going on. Peter Schiff is one of the, I think, the most knowledgeable financial minds in the country. He is one of those who saw what was coming with the onset of this economic crisis and forecasted rather spectacularly. He is the chief global strategist and president of Euro-Pacific Capital, Inc., and it is, Peter, great to have you back with us here. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too, Lou.
What's your take on the proposed Obama just under $1 trillion economic stimulus package?
Well, it's a disaster. The stimulus is the problem. I mean, it's the bigger problem than what we're all dealing with now. And again, it's our politicians refuse to accept reality and understand what's going on, that the economic contraction is necessary, right? Our country is imbalanced. We've spent too much money. We've borrowed too much money. We've run up these huge debts in pursuit of speculation and instant gratification. And
right.
People on Main Street have borrowed a lot of money and spent it, and people on Wall Street borrowed a lot of money and gambled it away. And we've dug ourselves into a gigantic hole, and the solution is to get out of this hole. We need to save our money. We need to produce things again. We need to tighten our belts. Everybody from the average American family to Uncle Sam.
Wait a minute. You said tighten our belts, cut back. I mean, meanwhile, a lot of our political leaders are saying consumers have got to consume. We've got to put all this money in the hands of consumers so they can buy. And you're saying just the opposite.
All they're doing is spending us deeper into debt and deeper into bankruptcy.
Right.
Economies don't grow because we spend money. We get to spend money because economies grow. And what makes an economy go is the opposite of spending. It's savings and investment. It's production. That's what this country is lacking. We need more of that. We don't need more spending. So when the politicians say we need to get the consumer credit flowing again, we need Americans borrowing money so they can buy more cars, we need that like a hole in the head. We've got too many cars on the road right now. We don't need any new cars. Yeah, we need to make cars, and we need to export them. There are people all around the world that are still using bicycles. Let's make some cars for them. Let's export some cars. We just can't keep borrowing money to go deeper into debt to buy new cars or to buy new television sets or washer dryers. It's great to spend money when you have it, but first you have to earn it. It's great to have things, but first you have to make them.
Well, so, Peter, let me ask you this, because I've been writing for years about the relationship between trade policy, between economic growth, the quality and the standard of living in this country on the part of the middle class, the issues of outsourcing of American middle-class jobs, offshoring of production, and the immense rise in the velocity of debt in this country. So you're saying there's really something to all of that, despite the fact that none of the political leaders, either currently in office or preparing to take office, are making any indication of any kind that they're going to do something about those issues.
It's bad monetary policy that got us into this mess. We've had interest rates too low for too long. That's encouraged all the reckless consumption. But the problem is now, since we've destroyed our capital base, we've destroyed our savings, the only way we can compete now is with cheap labor. So unfortunately, wages in this country are going to have to come down because that's the consequence of squandering our capital. We're going to have to start over again. The reason that Americans used to enjoy the highest wages in the world was because we had the most capital. We had the highest savings rate. We had the most tools in the hands of our workers. But we don't have that anymore. We got to build that back.
And we produced the most products. We produced the products that were the most sophisticated and advanced. And we're innovating and doing more R&D than any other nation or group of nations on the face of the planet. We no longer can make any of those claims.
We were so rich was because we believed in capitalism, because government was small, so people were big. Right. We could succeed because government wasn't putting up all these roadblocks. And we had honest money, we had higher interest rates, so Americans saved. We used to have a double-digit savings rate in this country. People bought things when they had the money. They didn't buy first and figure out how to pay for it later. And, we didn't have this phony service sector economy. We had a real economy. And now it's a mess.
What's your outlook for this year, Peter?
Yeah, just a lot of inflation, and unfortunately, the economy is going to be in worse shape at the end of the year than in the beginning of the year because the government is denying the only medicine that can cure us. The free market is trying to cure our economy of a disease that bad monetary and fiscal policy infected us with. Unfortunately, the government doesn't like the cure, and so they're just going to make us sicker.
Why aren't we hearing from more economists in academia, in industry, in the private sector? Why aren't they standing up and saying, whoa, there isn't a one-size-fits-all solution to this. There are principles that have to be observed in public policy that recognize the reality of modern economics. Why isn't that happening?
I don't know. A lot of people are just ignorant. They don't understand economics. I mean, the people who are suggesting or saying that we have to do all these stimulus packages and bailouts, they are the very people that told us how great everything was a year or two ago. How people like me were just clueless, Chicken Little,
right.
People that So why should they be any smarter now? If they didn't understand the problem 2 years ago, why do we think they understand it now? All they want to do is get things back to the way they were. But the way it was the problem. We can't go back to the way it was because that way doesn't work. That's why we're in this mess.
Absolutely well put. Well, let me throw this out. A lot of discussion now on the part of Barack Obama that he's going to be able to get through just under $1 trillion, that's at least the word, $1 trillion stimulus package. And the way he's going to do that is by offering up $300 billion worth of tax cuts for both working folks and small business. In other words, it's a sop to get through legislation that he says is critically needed, that our economy is so damaged, so sick, and that it is weakening and worsening, that this has to be done. What should be done, in your judgment, on the part of this new administration?
The government should cut spending, not cut taxes. I mean, I want lower taxes as much as anybody. I mean, believe me, I don't like paying taxes, and I'd love to have lower taxes. But first we need lower spending, because only if the government spends less can they tax less. If they simply cut taxes but keep spending money, they're not saving anybody anything, because all they're doing is printing the difference. And so they create inflation. And so what happens is you have more money, but your money buys less stuff because the government has debased it. And so they end up stealing from us through inflation.
Your best advice to folks listening to you right now as to how to get through this year in the best possible financial shape?
Get out of the U.S. I mean, don't own U.S. dollars. I mean, sell into this rally in Treasury, sell any kind of U.S. dollar-denominated debt that you have, CDs, government bonds, muni bonds, and buy foreign assets, buy gold, buy other commodities, buy something real, something tangible, protect your wealth, because the crisis that the government is now setting up is going to be a run on the dollar. The dollar is going to completely collapse, and prices are going to go through the roof. And people who are holding on to dollars that think they have something real, that think they have savings that they can actually spend in the future, are going to wake up to a nightmare, just like people who had their money with Bernie Madoff. It's going to be almost as bad.
A couple of practical things on a less lofty note. A mortgage. Should they be fixed mortgages at these lower interest rates right now?
Absolutely. If you can't sell your house, at least leverage it up, I think. Take all this cheap money and do something productive with it. Invest it abroad. I think, mortgage rates are very low right now. They're not going to stay low. This is only a temporary thing. Eventually, mortgage rates are going to go through the roof, unless, of course, the only lender is the government. But believe me, if the government is the only one lending, the money is not going to have any value.
And credit cards and installment debt, get rid of it altogether?
I mean, people should not be using credit cards. I mean, the whole idea that, credit is contracted now. I mean, Americans are seeing their credit limits reduced. That's a good thing. That is nothing that the government should try to prevent. Bush said that we need Americans to be able to access credit so they can run their daily lives. That's nonsense. You shouldn't be using borrowed money to run your daily lives. In fact, we shouldn't be borrowing money to consume, period. Businesses should borrow money to invest. You should consume out of income and out of savings, not out of debt.
Peter Schiff, words to live by. Thank you very much. Let's talk soon.
Sure. Bye.
Peter Schiff, Euro Pacific Capital, also one of the most prescient economic voices over the past several years. We'll be right back. We're going to be talking with the producers over at Dobbs tonight at CNN. They have some mysteries that will unfold here in the course of the next few minutes on the Lou Dobbs Show. Stay with us.